Hello, I'm FX Toycat, and every single Minecraft seed is unique, but some are more unique than others, so when you load up a random Minecraft world, you might spawn into a bland generic forest, or you could use this seed to spawn into a giant, never-looking cavern, which would massively improve your survival experience. Indeed, today you're going to see 6 Minecraft seeds that aren't just rare in terms of the terrain generation, but actually have interesting features that can really help your survival experience out. Whether that's a woodland mansion or a flaming shipwreck, these aren't just interesting to look at, but they're incredibly interesting to explore and play, and that is something that's important to me, and so come along for the journey today, and maybe consider subscribing as we jump into the first seed, which I guarantee will have you asking some serious questions. Not about the jungle edge biome and the beautiful mountain that spawns behind you, but instead what you'll see right in front of you when you spawn, because it is this, a pillager outpost next to a desert village. This is an absolutely fascinating thing by itself. I mean, a pillager outpost by a village is an absolute massacre waiting to happen, which is always very funny and also perhaps very useful for a raid farm, but even more than that, it's actually something else, because if you take a closer look, you'll notice it's not just a pillager outpost and a village, because instead it's actually a pillager outpost with a village which doesn't seem to fit. It's a desert village despite this being an ocean biome and clearly an ocean island, which makes it one of the very few places that you can find a camel alongside an iron golem, alongside a second iron golem, because the pillager outpost spawns with one inside of a cage. Oh, also, the pillager outpost isn't what it seems. I don't know if any people can spot this, but there's actually something weird going on with the base of the pillager outpost, because it seems to have a lot of extra cobblestone, because yes, despite this somehow being an ocean island with a pillager outpost and a desert village, it also has a jungle temple in here too. What sense does that make? There's a little bit of a trap right here as a result of that, but this is one of the only places where if you want, you can obtain the Sentry Army trim, but also get your hands on the one from the jungle temple, but also have desert villager trading right here from spawn. That is insane, that makes no sense, and the only thing worse than it is all of the pillagers who definitely want you dead, and because yeah, this is a fairly large desert village, and there's a lot of villagers who are going to die, and also a lot of villagers from different biomes, but these aren't jungle villagers, so I've just got even more questions than I've got answers. By the way, if you want to see true equality, keep in mind that there are actually plains villagers who spawn here, and the pillagers are willing to kill them just as much as they're willing to kill the desert villagers, which if you ask me is, you know, the future we all want to live in, where you're not discriminated on based on the color of your villager skin, but instead you can be murdered nonetheless regardless of it. This is a beautiful reminder of a Minecraft world that you should all be checking out. More seriously, this is actually a really cool, insane thing found by Fragrant Result 186. After the contributions to last week's Seed Sunday, I couldn't help but look into other things that they found, and this seed is really interesting, not just for what you find here, but also for the fact that yes, this is actually a really astounding seed. You have a ruined portal, you have a jungle edge biome, and then you have a mountain next to a mesa. It's a really enticing seed that just happens to have something fun, which would also describe this second seed here, because this second seed will spawn you on the side of a hill, which gives you a really great view. This is surprisingly handy when you want to see what you can do, but I'm going to recommend kind of going backwards towards where you came, because there's something very interesting you can find just over the hill. It is a beautiful flowery meadow with a cherry grove biome behind it. This is always fun enough to see by itself, in my opinion. This contrast between the two biomes is nice enough, but even better, as you might expect from a seed found by someone who knows what they're doing, this isn't just a village surrounded by cherry grove on all sides, which would be a perfect building opportunity and a perfect way to have a fully surrounded beauty while still having full access to trading in its current form, by the way. Get it while it's still good. But guess what you're going to find if you happen to go down below? Well, you don't have to guess, because I'm here to show you that there is a stronghold right below this village. A village this close to spawn has a stronghold right below it, and around that stronghold is a bunch of cherry grove biomes, which makes for an absolutely beautiful experience, and indeed would allow you to be fully self-sufficient just within this area. I think that Minecraft has a beautiful infinite world that is worth exploring, but I think the fact that seeds are so popular, despite the fact that you could explore your world and find one of these after just a few million blocks, proves that lots of people do want to see lots of good things close by together, and so if you want to limit yourself to a small section of a Minecraft world, I couldn't think of a better example than this, which gives you, as you can see, 3 different types of terrain. You get the mountains to the sides, you get this beautiful moat around what could be your castle, and then you get a village and a plains in the center. What more can you ask for? Because this is Seed Sunday, and so you can probably expect there'll be another interesting seed, and this is one for those who missed the console edition, and indeed the fact that you used to almost always have a woodland mansion by spawn. The reason why the console edition used to have so many woodland mansions was that limited world sizes meant that they would either have to up the spawn rate massively or risk having worlds where entire players would never have access to this feature, and this is something this seed replicates quite nicely. However, spawning on top of a woodland mansion is not unique. As insane as that is to say, this is not the unique part of the seed, it's just a really fun thing you can experience. Instead, the fact that this merges with a village is perhaps the unique part you might enjoy if you're a console player. That is something that you would see from time to time, but something you probably never saw if you played Minecraft console on any platform besides PS4 is what you'll see after this cliff right here. As you can see, there's a lovely librarian right here who's seen something and he wants to get away real fast and look very, very far away, because this is the access point for a very intriguing cave, which I'm going to try and jump into right now. This is a dangerous thing to do with absolutely nothing in survival, but it's worth doing because of what you'll get at the bottom. Oh god, there's a slime there too. Because this is the closest you can get to a netherized overworld, or perhaps an overworlded nether, because there is a giant lava pit above which you'll notice there is some vines that sit right on the ceiling right here. They're not weeping vines or crimson vines, but they are in fact glowberry vines, making for a similar yet different appearance. This is one of the most stunning caves I've ever seen, and I think that if you want to have one of those interesting experiences in your survival world, this is a great place to have one. Having a lush cave this far down is a very, very, very unique and cool thing, but what makes it even better in my opinion than you might just see from, looking around this, is the fact that on this side you'll find not just a bunch of diamonds, but also on top of that a little bit of skulk and a deep dark if you want one too. You could do some serious building with the materials that you can find down here, and I absolutely love that this is possible, and the fact that it's not just possible, it happens directly below with no blocks being required to be broken, directly below that woodland mansion village that you saw from before. By the way, it's even cooler than you think it is, because it's not just a village which takes place in the roof forest, very, very unique. It's a village which takes place underneath the woodland mansion, which I just love. This guy who owns this house must feel real strange about his life decisions of choosing to make his house right here, and also you'll notice some of the woodland mansion goes a solid 60 blocks down. Because the woodland mansion tries to find a nice level place to build where it doesn't have to dig too far into terrain, this woodland mansion has chosen to done that at layer 75, meaning there is a huge amount of cobblestone all around it. I don't think cobblestone is in short supply, but if it was, you'd be able to do some cool things with this, and even in the way that it is, you can choose to, kind of chisel out your own hole in this and make an anti-hole underneath a woodland mansion. No one probably wants to do that, but if you did, if you subscribe to the Toy Cat Wherefore and think that weird projects are a good idea, then you would love this, but most people don't agree with me, and instead would prefer a seed which looked a little bit more traditionally normal. Which is something I care about a lot. I love when people tell me exactly what to do, which is why today I'm going to be doing precisely the opposite, because that was sarcasm, and this is a decent Minecraft seed on the surface. Type it in and you'll get a lovely ice spikes biome at spawn. However, you probably wouldn't expect what makes this seed unique, unless you'd read those handy little things in the description that tell you exactly what happens at a given point in the video. By the way, if you want to use one of these seeds, you can copy paste it from there. A surprising number of people watch these videos on mobile, and so you can type it right into your seed field and have this lovely ice spikes biome. It's a little big for my liking, but for some people that's an easy source of packed ice, and so who am I to judge? But something you'll find interesting is what happens when you go down below. And when I say deep down, I really mean it. This is an ice lake you can find about 1,000 blocks away from spawn. It's a beautiful feature by itself, and something we've shown on the channel before is when these lakes go all the way down to bedrock, which this one does, but this one has something more interesting you can also find down there, because if you can see just through the ice here, there is interestingly a little part of a shipwreck which seems to be covered in obsidian. What is possibly going on with this? Well, I'm going down to the lava lake nearby and I'm going to activate spectator so I can show you precisely what that is. So we have a shipwreck which wants to generate at the bottom of an ocean. This is a fairly rare thing to see when the ocean is at y-50, but it does in fact happen, and the shipwreck decides to generate, and it does so perfectly great with all of the corresponding water blocks around it. Then a lava lake chooses to generate, which is fairly common by itself at the right layers, but it chooses to generate in just the same spot that the shipwreck previously chose to generate in. This means that immediately you get this huge wall of obsidian because the lava meets the water, and also it means that, interestingly, there is lava surrounding the shipwreck on all sides. However, the water, which is either waterlogging the shipwreck or waterlogging some of the weird blocks around it like this, still will not go missing, and because these water blocks don't have direct contact with normal lava, you get the very strange situation of a boat that is entirely underwater, the incredibly rare situation of being able to drown while being surrounded by lava. What an insane situation this is, and indeed, there's a lovely chest right here to reward you, and another one if you really need to take advantage of that. But what's more interesting to me about this just insane world is that it goes all the way down to y-62. Also, there's just a big lava place down here. If you were to efficiently use gravel, you could place your way around it, maybe place some glass in its place, and maybe use that to get really decent diamonds, because down at y-59 is where you find the most diamonds. It's just you usually have to put it with lava, but if you're putting up with the lava for your shipwreck anyway, maybe you could uncover this thing and have one of the weirdest stories of a shipwreck surrounded on all sides by lava. Or you could try and drain the ocean underneath this, but I don't envy you. I've been swimming up for the last 5 seconds and I've still got another 64 blocks to the surface. It is such a deep cave, and you really can't appreciate it without seeing this for visual reference right nearby, which is a natural cave you do get next to it. So a very weird, quirky, zany seed that just really breaks the laws of what can happen in Minecraft. One of my favorite things. But if you actually want a more normal seed, then let me show you the honorable mention for the week. Because the theme of this week's Seed Sunday is incredibly rare seeds that are broken and change your Minecraft in an interesting way, and this is a really interesting seed, but it's actually useful and might encourage you to start a challenge, because in fact that's what it's going to do for me. I wanted to share it with all of you just in case you wanted to see a one chunk seed. This is a world that will allow you to play Minecraft entirely in one chunk. How is that possible? Allow me to show you 2 unique things. One of those is what happens if you do choose to place a portal right by the spawn. So I'm just going to use the set block portal technique right now and show you that when you go to the Nether, a warp forest biome right at spawn, meaning you could get ender pearls without going anywhere around a chunk of your Nether portal and a chunk of your overworld. But even more interesting is if you choose to dig down from here, you might spot something quite interesting, which is that you will be able to find just a few blocks away a Nether portal within that distance, a Nether fortress rather, within that same distance, meaning you can get blaze rods from the exact same one chunk radius of where your portal is. You can also get a gold sword, which you could use to kill the blazes. Not necessarily recommended, but that means you can get blazes, you can get ender pearls, and so if you wanted to beat Minecraft, the only thing you'd need is an end portal. Let's be honest, we all know exactly what's going to happen next, but that doesn't stop it being impressive, because you spawn in a village, which means you have a chance of that village having a stronghold below, and yes, that includes this one, a stronghold within one chunk of spawning. I want to do a really fun one chunk challenge on this, maybe add in some hardcore, add in some extra modifiers to see just how much I can do with my one chunk, and I'm looking forward to doing it. If you weren't using it as a one chunk seed, I think it would also be pretty handy. Look at this giant abandoned mineshaft you have in a cave over here. I love to see these. I think they're incredibly interesting. I had a comment on a recent Seed Sunday saying to use night vision when I'm in caves. I prefer to show how they look normally because you can over-represent it, but for those who do want to see the actual look of the inside of a cave, it's giant, it's massive, it's really, really cool, and it's a pretty darn cool seed that exists entirely within one chunk if you want it to, which you better believe I do. So if you see me do this in the future, it's a real Minecraft seed because I believe in real Minecraft survival. If you believe in real Minecraft survival, then here's one for you to try and survive though, because you're going to need it on this next seed, which has not just a ruined portal with its big nether pit, not just a pillager outpost, the fun structure that it is, which happens to spawn close to a village by the way, so you've got a massacre you need to prevent immediately, both in the form of that and that, that and this and this, but also because you spawn on top of a woodland mansion again. What an insane thing to happen multiple times. This is one of those very, very fun and rare events by itself, but to combine it with this rare event and this rare event and this rare event, and by the way, for that all to happen on an island, this is truly the definition of survival island. And once you take enough 1% chances together, they stack together, right? It's not just a 1% chance to spawn on a mansion, a 1% chance to have a pillager mansion by a village, and a 1% chance to have a ruined portal, which is spawning close enough to burn down trees. Instead, you stack the 3 chances together, and all of a sudden you've got a 0.0001% chance of something happening, and this is the seed that results. When you're playing Minecraft Survival, you have 4 difficulty options: peaceful, easy, normal, and hard, but really, when you type in this seed, you get a whole extra option thrown on top, which is immediately having to put out fires when you spawn into it, which is something I really love. I love when a seed challenges you, but in a way that actually can reward you when you're done. Having all of these structures close by is actually really quite handy and will make for a really interesting end result of a world. You do have spruce villagers right here. You do have a pillager outpost, which people seem to love, right over here as well, and you do have access to some of the most interesting mob structures and blocks right at the spawn over here, and it's your choice to make these things happen. I do think that for a long-term survival world, this isn't a perfect fit, but for a mid-term or for an interesting challenge, this is such a fun one, and if that's what you've been looking for recently, I hope this seed fits the bill. And in case it's somehow still not enough, okay, we got one of those rare rooms with the secret ceiling chest, and inside of that, you can find some name tags, some gunpowder, and even get yourself that rare Vex armor trim. What more could you possibly ask for a seed? I don't know. I just know that this is one of the most insane things I've seen, and if you agree that rare things are interesting to you, consider subscribing to the channel. I love when Minecraft goes wrong and goes weird, and indeed, every single Sunday, I like to cover some weird Minecraft seeds, or lots of Sundays at least. And yeah, if you subscribe to the channel, it's the easiest way to stay up to date with Minecraft updates and everything else, which I hope you choose to do. For now, I would appreciate if you consider checking out the Amazon referral links in the description. If you're looking to buy an Xbox or Nintendo gift card, it is a great way to support the channel while also paying no more for those things and also getting a better service. I personally think the gift cards are a great way to buy on the Nintendo store, which is a nightmare to buy for otherwise, and the same can be true for Xbox or PlayStation, depending on what you're buying. So check out the links if you want to support the channel, and also consider subscribing or don't. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, because I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.